This is Sky News at 6 o'clock, the top stories. No chance of escape, the Leicester City helicopter crash and its 5 feared victims. A deadly descent which could have been far worse. The eyewitness who says the pilot was a hero. And the city remembering the owner who made them famous around the world, also tonight. 2 brothers, a husband and wife, and a woman approaching her centenary, the victims of the synagogue shooting. No deal, new budget. Philip Hammond tells Sky News how Brexit could force him to change tack. The football mad boys rescued from a Thai cave, celebrated today by Manchester United. And why it must be New Zealand, the country's unique welcome for Harry and Meghan. Very good evening to you. The victims haven't yet been officially confirmed, but there's little doubt tonight that the billionaire owner of Leicester City was among those killed in the helicopter crash outside the club's football ground. Air accident investigators were at the scene today, where it's feared 5 people died. Tonight, a Sky cameraman who witnessed the crash said that to him, the pilot was a hero who appeared to steer the aircraft away from people on the ground. Sky's Tom Parmenter reports now from Leicester.
Just metres from the stadium, it's hard to tell that the wreckage is a helicopter. We now know the club's Thai owner was on board. It was after the draw with West Ham United on Saturday night that it took off from the centre circle. Within moments, it had lost control and spiralled down into a club car park, bursting into flames. With just a small fire extinguisher, there was nothing the police could do. The fireball was filmed by Sky cameraman Dan Cox. He'd just finished the post-match interviews in the stadium when he was walking across that car park.
It's immediately obvious that no one was going to be surviving that impact. It was just horrendous.
Having just done the post-match interviews, Sky cameraman Dan Cox was walking across that car park.
I heard the helicopter coming out of the stadium. Saw it just as you do, they're amazing pieces of machinery. And then I just carried on walking, thinking, next time I look up, it's going to be flying over my head. And then I looked up and it was just spinning, static, just out of control. I've never seen anything like it in my life. It was just a constant, just a spin, just spinning in the same position. And then, I don't know how the pilots did it. It seemed to manage to slow down the spinning rotation, and it just drifted off into that corner part of the car park.
Because it was away
from as many people as it could possibly be.
The owner of the club, the man they know simply as Vichai, was on board his helicopter, as he was for every home game. He was the architect of perhaps the Premier League's finest moment. Nobody had given them a chance, not even the fans could take it in. For Anil Uka, this feels like a family tragedy.
He's brought the whole town together, the whole city together in terms of what he's done for the club, the success that's come along, and all his generosity with the fans. He's very generous with whenever his birthday, he's handing out beers and cakes. Christmas, he's very he's part of the community, he's part of the family.
The wreckage, still in situ next to the ground, is now being examined by air accident investigators. It was approximately 200 to 300 feet up when it lost control. Now, a private helicopter like that wouldn't necessarily have a black box flight recorder. Some witnesses said there was a problem with the tail rotor. That is one option, but as yet, nothing has been ruled out. Players wore black armbands at today's Premier League matches. This is felt across football, but most acutely in this city. It seems unlikely that their next home match against Southampton will go ahead this week. The game they love is just a game. Tom Parmenter, Sky News, Leicester.
Well, Tom's live for us at the King Power Stadium in Leicester now. Tom, we heard from the Sky cameraman who witnessed what happened last night, but what are the fans saying there in Leicester tonight?
Very often in football, the relationship between the ownership of a football club and the fans can be a difficult one. That is not the case at all here in Leicester, and what the owners have done over the course of the last decade to this club and the level of professionalism that they have taken it to, the quiet ambition that they have done that with, has been such that that relationship is one that is full of respect and gratitude for the great days that they have brought to this football club. A couple of seasons ago, I was reporting on this club, small little Leicester toppling the giants of the Premier League. The atmosphere in this city then was just quite incredible. And that, of course, was under the Italian manager Claudio Ranieri. We have heard this evening from the French manager Claude Puel, who now leads this team. He has spoken to French radio, articulating his sense of huge loss and how his thoughts are very much with the families of those involved in this crash. We are still tonight waiting for official confirmation, either from the club or from the emergency services, to exactly who was on board. The process of informing relatives, making sure that they are the priority in this situation, and perhaps that is straddled across different time zones between the UK and Thailand. That is perhaps the delay as to why no official announcement has yet been made, but a very obvious sense of loss and grief here in Leicester. You can see that from the many, many flowers behind us, football scarves, football shirts. We've got Erin and Megan just next to us here. Guys, what is your thought of the contribution that this family has made to this city and this club? It's huge, isn't it?
Yeah. It just seems like a dream, but it's not. Obviously, I was watching a live this morning on Facebook, and it was just shocking. And I don't live very far from here, so I think I heard like a massive bang, and I thought it was fireworks, but obviously not.
And the helicopter buzzing in and out of the ground is such a regular thing around every home game, isn't it? It's a hard one to take in, just what has happened.
It's horrible.
What are the kind of discussions you've been hearing today and the way people are talking?
Well, we've been hearing that, like, there's rumours going around that the daughter died and then not died, like, passed away and stuff like that, but we don't know yet, so...
Yeah, at this stage, we understand that the chairman's daughter was not on board that helicopter, but, of course, the official confirmation with the identity has still not been released. Guys, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for talking to us tonight. And really, there are many, many people from very many different clubs who have decided to come to the King Power Stadium today. On this side of the ground, a huge sea of scarves and tributes, but on the other side of the ground, the investigators still continuing their work. It is cordoned off, and it will be some time, I think, before that wreckage is removed from the club car park. It is still there in situ. A lot of work to be done to try and understand precisely what happened to that helicopter in the very early stages of its flight yesterday evening, when it crashed and came down with such catastrophic consequences.
OK, Tom, thank you. The victims were aged from 54 to 97, among them a husband and wife and 2 brothers. The victims of the synagogue attack in Pittsburgh were named today, and the city's mayor described the killings as heartbreaking, but said its people are stronger than hate.
To the victims' families, to the victims' friends, we are here as a community of one for you. We will be here to help you through this horrific episode. We'll get through this darkest day of Pittsburgh's history by working together.
Well, Sky's Amanda Walker is there in Pittsburgh and sent this report.
To a lot of our viewers, it is a list of names to the people who live in this community. It is friends, it is family members, it's members of this congregation. This, that as well, FBI officers still continuing to scour this building that has become such a focus now after this horrific crime.
Well, the 11 people shot dead at the synagogue in Pittsburgh are being mourned by Jewish communities all around the world. The shooting is one of the worst anti-Semitic attacks ever to have taken place in the United States, a country traditionally regarded as a safe haven from anti-Jewish hatred and prejudice. Lisa Holland has this report.
Right, because we're in the middle of Genesis at the moment.
This is what would have been happening when the Pittsburgh attack began. America is nothing new, but the Jewish community around the world is considering how the debate on guns came to their door. Lisa Holland, Sky News.
A no-deal Brexit could mean a new budget. That was a warning from the Chancellor Philip Hammond today in an interview with Sky News. He's due to deliver his budget tomorrow, but said that leaving the European Union without an agreement would force him to look again at the country's finances. Our political correspondent Lewis Goodall has this report.
These former chancellors said there would be an emergency Brexit budget if we voted to leave the EU.
You can do it by
raising taxes.
The markets might really have to take notice. Lewis Goodall, Sky News, Westminster.
Well, Lewis joins us live from Westminster now. Lewis, we've heard a bit about what we're expecting in the budget tomorrow. You know, investment for the high street, more investment for our roads. What else can we expect?
Well, Becky, you can absolutely bet your bottom dollar that there will be some surprise. There'll be a rabbit that's pulled out of the hat. Because even if you take austerity to mean there aren't going to be any further spending cuts, the fact is that if she really wanted to reverse many of the spending cuts, you'd be talking about tens upon tens upon tens of £billions. It ain't going to happen, and it certainly isn't going to happen tomorrow.
OK, Lewis, thank you. And an update now on Sky News' campaign to make leader debates a regular feature of elections and for an independent commission to oversee them. Another significant landmark was reached around midnight last night. Over 50,000 people have now signed the petition. It's now over halfway towards the 100,000 signatures, which will mean Parliament has to consider the matter for debate. Now, if you want to join the campaign, you can do so by going to skynews.com/makedebateshappen and support the campaign by using the hashtag #MakeDebatesHappen. You're watching Sky News. Coming up. What do the Kiwis think of Harry and Meghan? We usually see this on the rugby pitch, and it doesn't mean welcome. Welcome back. Let's cross over now to the Sky Sports News Centre for an update with Rob.
Thank you. Leicester fans have been laying tributes as they await more news after last night's helicopter crash.
That a bit later on. Now, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been given a traditional married greeting on arrival in New Zealand. The royal couple were welcomed to the country with a porphyry, a traditional ceremony with singing and dancing in Wellington. Royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills was there.
You don't get a welcome like it anywhere else. Their head of state. Women are important here. For Meghan, it seems the perfect fit. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News in Wellington.
You're watching Sky News. Coming up, tributes to the victims of the Leicester helicopter crash at the day's Premier League fixtures. We'll be speaking to one Fox's fan about what it means to him. You're watching Sky News. The top stories this hour. Sky sources can reveal that the Leicester City Football Club billionaire owner was on board the helicopter that crashed into the team's stadium car park last night before bursting into flames. The FBI says there's no indication that the gunman who killed 11 people at a synagogue in Pittsburgh was working with anyone else. And in an interview with Sky News, the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, has warned that he'd have to bring in a new budget if there's a no-deal Brexit. Now, Manchester United and Everton weren't the only football teams at Old Trafford today. The club welcomed the 12 young Thai footballers and their coach, who were rescued from flooded caves earlier on this year. And they even got a hug from Jose Mourinho, as Fraser Maud now reports.
Together as a team. Fraser Maud, Sky News, Manchester.
Former England manager Glenn Hoddle's responding well to treatment after suffering a heart attack yesterday. A spokesman for the former Tottenham player, who earned 53 caps for England, said he wanted to thank the football family for their support. Hoddle collapsed as he marked his 61st birthday whilst performing his role as a TV pundit. Polls have opened in Brazil for the final round of the country's presidential elections. A short time ago, populist candidate Jair Bolsonaro cast his vote at a polling station in Rio de Janeiro. He's been accused of holding homophobic and racist views, and he's trying to see off leftist candidate and former Sao Paulo Mayor Fernando Haddad. And we'll have the results for you a bit later on. I think it's 10 o'clock tonight here on Sky News. 4 NFL players have been arrested in London after attempting to leave a nightclub without paying a substantial bar bill. The unnamed American footballers, players for the Jacksonville Jaguars, tried to walk out of a club in Piccadilly, having racked up a £50,000 tab. Now, the Jaguars took on the Philadelphia Eagles in an NFL showdown at Wembley earlier on today. In England, more than 4,000 people sleep rough every single night, and that's something that should keep us all awake as temperatures fall and winter draws closer. But now a charity is hoping that they can make a difference with a fleet of mobile coffee vans. Sky's Katie Spencer explains.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Amy, part of your onboard crew.
It's a simple business model. For commuters on Virgin trains, buying a cup of coffee means they could help change a life through a special social enterprise scheme designed to get people off the streets.
And you want to do something to help, but you're not really sure what to do.
Looking at where we spend our money is a start, and unlike the corporate coffee giants, small sips here can help provide the first steps towards turning a life around. Katie Spencer, Sky News.
We're back now to our top story on the helicopter crash after the Leicester City Football Club match last night, with 5 people on board, including the club's owner. The Foxes are the most unlikely heroes of English football, a team who a little over 2 years ago went from relegation fodder to champions of England. Well, we've seen this now over the last few hours, this developing story. Joining me now to discuss this in a bit more detail is the Foxes Trust Board member, Colin Murrant. Very good evening to you. Devastating news, all day people paying tribute at the King Power Stadium. What's the reaction been that you've been hearing from fans?
Well, absolute numbness, really, completely and obviously unexpected, and it's been such an emotional roller coaster ride since the owners have been here with the highs. We've just actually reached the depths today, and it's very emotional. A lot of tears around here today.
Very often there are perhaps disagreements between fans and club owners, but this wasn't the case, was it, at Leicester? They were very much a part of the family.
Absolutely, they were. They came in, they embraced the history of the club. Some club owners come in trying to change the colours, trying to change the name. They didn't. And they also embraced the city as well, which is quite wonderful. The donations they made to the local hospital, the university. Even some supporters, some with a genetic illness, they paid quite a sum towards his treatment. And, you know, on a lighter note, on the owner's birthday, they gave us all free beers and donuts and things like that. But they have really embraced the club.
It seems now as if it's almost inevitable that the owner was in fact on that helicopter. It was a couple of years ago, of course, that the club won the Premier League. They shocked everyone, even, I think it's fair to say, Leicester fans. How significant was the owner in reaching that achievement?
Oh, totally, absolutely totally. I mean, when he brought the club from Milan Mandaric, we were still in lots of debt. He bought the ground back, which was a major thing, and then he started investing in the team. He promised us we'd be in the top 5, and he actually burst that, and we won the Premier League. And that was such a wonderful time because actually the whole world seemed to be with us. The energy we got from the world. You know, I remember the day we won it. There were 2,000 Italian fans came over to the Everton game when we got presented with the trophy, and they were in the city. It was absolutely wonderful. Everywhere you went in the world, people wanted to talk about Leicester. Even people had probably not heard of the place before, but they wanted to talk about Leicester. So he not only put the club on the map, but he put the city on the map as well.
It did indeed, and we're looking at some fantastic pictures on the screen at the moment, you know, recalling the celebrations from a couple of years back. We have spoken today to a Sky cameraman who saw what happened last night. He said the pilot was a hero. He said he tried to steer it away from crowds of people. I haven't been to the area, but you'd imagine, you know, there were a lot of people in the area yesterday, and it was almost a miracle that nobody else on the ground was caught up in what happened, isn't it?
Well, I think it was, obviously, it was some time after the match had finished, and the ground does tend to clear very quickly, but it was in an isolated area towards the back of the ground. It could have been a lot worse. If it's not bad enough, it could have been worse, I suppose. But it was some time after the match had finished, and we have to be thankful for that most of the crowd had gone home and were in the local pubs or on their way back home.
OK, Colin Murrant, we'll leave it there, but thank you ever so much for speaking to us tonight, and of course our thoughts to everyone there in Leicester.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're watching Sky News. Coming up, we build up to the time now for a check on all the latest sport with Roger.
This programme is brought to you by Vitality Health and Life Insurance. Getting active brings its own rewards.
I hate it when they get out and they shake all over you. Ugh.
Hello again. Lewis Hamilton will win his 5th Formula One world title if he finishes in the top 7 at the Mexican Grand Prix this evening. Well, the Mexican Grand Prix is live now on Sky Sports F1, and we're back with Sportsline at 7:30. See you then.
That's cheating. No one lifts me up when I'm catching the ball.
Time now to get a check on the weather.
Beneath pink skies by the Taj Mahal, or as the sun sets in the City of Angels.
Britain will be mostly dry and sunny tomorrow, but there will be a few showers in the east. Ireland will be cloudier with Atlantic rain edging in. Before then, though, most places will be dry this evening, but there will be a few showers around, mostly over eastern coasts, and showers will continue near Britain's North Sea coast overnight, but most other places will